You said something interesting, that this would never succeed today. If you were going to launch a studio today, how much harder do you think it is, maybe on a percentage basis, right? Is it 1,000 times harder? Is it 10 times harder to pull off what eRepublik pulled off? How much harder is it today to be successful with a new studio in games?
I mean, first of all, being completely realistic, eRepublik was moderately successful. It's joining forces with Stillfront and then doing that rollout and, acquiring lots of other studios and all that, they became a massive success. But eRepublik by itself was not a massive success. And one of the reasons I think it wasn't a massive success is we lacked some of the core skills of game making, live operations that we now have. We didn't really know how to design things properly. We had the famous problem of, you succeed with one game and then you don't succeed in the next game and the game after that and the game after that. It took us something like, I think probably 7 or 8 failed games before we got our next successful game. So it was really, really hard. And we were able to still survive because with very low costs, we had a bit of time. There wasn't that much competition. So I could raise money in spite of the fact that we weren't doing particularly well, all that sort of thing. Now I think it's 1,000 times harder if you're doing mobile free to play than if you're doing indie PC. I mean, although Steam, there's more games coming out of Steam on Steam now per year than games coming on mobile. Maybe it's a different thing, but my feeling is like what you need to succeed in mobile games in terms of development speed, quality of live operations, scaling your game with performance marketing and all that. It's just massive. And Ilka makes a very good point. He's saying, well, there's not enough innovation in mobile. That's why a lot of the mobile games companies are struggling. I think he's right, but if you just have innovation, you don't succeed either. So you actually need the whole range to succeed. So it's really, really, really difficult.
And you're highlighting how hard it is to launch a new studio in mobile right today, because the lack of innovation, we're kind of, what has been new really truly in the last 5 to 10 years for mobile. I then want to press into that. If you had to start a studio today, would you start it in mobile? Would you start it in console? Would you start it for PC? Would you pick a new platform? Considering, I think there's kind of 2 things to consider there. One is the competition set, but then also you're having to consider distribution, and obviously where are the players. If I forced you tomorrow to start a new studio, what lane would you choose and why?
So strangely enough, I would still do mobile free to play. The reason I would still do mobile free to play is, let's start with why I wouldn't do other things. So the reason I wouldn't do like PC, Steam, or AAA or anything like that is, on one hand, the PC, Steam, indie, although that's the sort of games I love playing, the live pro and all that. That's really the adventure of 2 or 3 people, 4 people, maybe just one person that do something very special, and they just hit the jackpot through innovation and quality. And you get very few of those that really kind of make a difference. And none of those are the type of outcomes that I'm trying to get, because what I want to do is I want to build billion-dollar companies, right? And so that's very difficult to do there. If you're doing a AAA game, then that's even harder, and you're waiting for 4 or 5 years, 3 years to get to success. We're seeing, how a lot of the investments have been done in kind of former Riot teams and all that. Now, they need to show what they've got after 3 or 4 years, and we're seeing that's becoming quite difficult. So that's another part I wouldn't do, and also I don't have the experience. VR is a bit, although I've been kind of, I've been in VR since the first Oculus. I actually have the first Oculus here in my office. I do a bit of VR from time to time. I haven't been a massive believer, although there are a few companies now that make decent revenues and all that on VR, but I still don't think that's necessarily the billion-dollar company right away. Whereas on mobile, if you know the right people, if you can build the right team together, if you have the ability to raise sufficient funds and you can build all of that, I still think, especially with AI now, that kind of really augments very, very good people, very strong teams, that it's one of those very, very few industries in the world where you have the right 15 people and you have enough resources and funds and you know how to use AI in the proper way, with just a few $1 million, you can build $1 billion game. And you can do that in 2 years. It's the only industry that I know and understand where you can still do that. It's very hard, but it is still possible.